Occupation is a crime.
Occupation is a crime.
So we want healthcare. No more warfare.
We want healthcare. No more warfare. We want healthcare. No more warfare. We want healthcare. No more warfare.
We are San Francisco healthcare workers for Palestine, a group of workers in the healthcare industry who are here to demand a ceasefire in the war on Gaza. As a reminder, there may be people taking video and photo present here. If you are worried about your identity being revealed, please find a mask. There are masks around the crowd. Feel free to take that precaution right now. I see we have more people coming up to join us. Give it up! Awesome, awesome. My name is Matt. I'm a nurse and I'm a grad student at UCSF. I'm studying public health nursing and I work with underserved communities. And again, we are healthcare workers here today, organized and walking out together because we are appalled at Israel's war on Gaza, which has claimed over 9,000 lives in the past few weeks, including thousands of women and children and dozens of UN relief workers, as well as healthcare workers. We are especially appalled at the targeting of hospitals, clinics, and ambulances, a practice that has intensified during this wave of violence. Just today, a missile hit the entrance of Al-Shifa Hospital, killing and injuring dozens. As healthcare workers, we have all sworn to protect life, and the conditions in Gaza horrify us, not just as healthcare workers, but as people of conscience. We denounce this violence and the occupation in the harshest of terms, especially the targeting of healthcare facilities and humanitarian operations, a moral atrocity and a war crime. The failure of the supposed international community to intervene on behalf of Palestinians, with the U.S. providing explicit political and material support for these actions, is indescribably shameful. We are also appalled at the ongoing and intensifying blockade against basic human needs. The blockade of food, fuel, medical supplies, and water are all contributing to a public health disaster that poses just as much of a threat to life as bullets and bombs. We are demonstrating at this hospital in the heart of San Francisco because we believe that Gaza needs healthcare, not warfare. Healthcare, not warfare. Healthcare, not warfare. Healthcare, not warfare.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody, for being here and showing your support. Just a quick reminder that we want to leave egress back here for our patients to be able to get into the hospital. So please, if you are filing in, please try to fill in. We can stand on this space over here as well. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. It's so beautiful to be here today. I'm Monica. I am a family doctor here. I have worked here at SF General Hospital for my entire career. I am here because my conscience would not let me be anywhere else today. We are at a pivotal moment. All across the globe, people are coming together to denounce violence and to demand an immediate ceasefire. We are a part of a powerful, ever-growing international collective here to say that we refuse to be complicit in supporting any policies that uphold senseless violence, settler colonialism, occupation, and genocide. We are here. We're making the connections between the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, the medical-industrial complex, and liberation struggles everywhere, past and present. Make no mistake, this is absolutely a health justice issue. And remember that beautiful acts of solidarity are happening every day, and we are all a part of this movement. We are here because we recognize that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Because we know our struggles are deeply interconnected. We as healthcare workers are here to send a powerful message of collective liberation and hope. So when we unite together, our collective voice, we are a part of a powerful and unstoppable movement. So this is our solidarity statement and these are our demands. We are a collective of healthcare workers who, from the heart of San Francisco, are calling on our representative Nancy Pelosi and on healthcare workers around the country to denounce war crimes of attacks on hospitals, healthcare workers, ambulances, and schools. We call for an immediate ceasefire and to support the Ceasefire Now resolution. We call to allow the immediate entry of humanitarian and medical aid into Gaza. We demand an end to U.S. arming of Israel. We demand an end to the siege on Gaza, and we demand an end to the occupation of Palestine. We call on residency, departments, and hospital leadership across the country to please protect our healthcare workers who speak out to advocate for the human rights of Palestinian people from facing online and physical threats and workplace retaliation. We call on our city to denounce the genocide in Gaza and to divest from weaponry used in the Israeli occupation. We know that a better world is possible. So please say it with me. Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
Thank you, thank you.
All right, we have some incredible speakers who are lined up to talk today. We will not be silent about the genocide happening in Gaza. We will speak to the, that's right. We will have speakers who will speak to the urgency of this moment, the importance of standing together as workers, as community, and as people of conscience against war and genocide. We must use all avenues and struggle in all arenas to end this atrocity. First up today, we have Dr. Jess Hanam.
Thank you for having me here today, everybody. It is so deeply meaningful to me as a Palestinian and to my community to see you all here today. My community is experiencing a deep moment of grief, and juxtaposed with that grief is deep optimism. We are burying a Palestinian child every 4 minutes in Gaza right now. I want you to think about that. Every 4 minutes, a Palestinian child in Gaza is being killed. A total of 4,500 Palestinian children have been killed. Over 9,000 have been killed by the Israeli war machine, supported by this government. The grief we feel is so deep. And it's not just from this last couple of weeks. It's from 75 years of brutal occupation of our indigenous lands. This did not start on October 7th. This is 75 years. And if you want to be an ally with Palestine and with Palestinians, you got to know your history. Don't let them fool you. This is not a religious war. This is straight out settler colonialism, white supremacy. Straight out European white supremacy, settler colonialism. If they try to tell you otherwise, they're trying to fool you. Know your history. I want to talk about intersectionality, because the Palestinian struggle is all of our struggle. To my black brothers and sisters, when Eric Garner and George Floyd said, "I can't breathe," we feel you. Palestinians can't breathe. We are in the same struggle. When our indigenous brothers and sisters are trying to reclaim the land that they've been ethnically cleansed from for hundreds and hundreds of years. That's the Palestinian struggle. Palestinians are indigenous to Palestine, and all we want is our connection to our indigenous land. It's the same struggle. When our brothers and sisters from Central and South America approach the border and are shot and denied access to humanity and dignity and equal rights, that's the Palestinian struggle. We get shot at every time we try to claim our right and our dignity and our human rights. To our brothers and sisters in the API community, we stand with you against racism and racist attacks, which we experience at the same level and every day. So I want you all to know, this struggle, the Palestinian struggle, is all of our struggles. I also want to speak to our brothers and sisters in the labor union who did an awesome action this morning in Oakland. Our brothers and sisters at the ILWU, the UAW, the SEIU, these are extraordinary colleagues and allies of us, and we need to stand with them. They're stopping boats that are taking weapon systems to the Israeli government. killing more Palestinians. I want to talk a little bit about the failure of moral leadership, all the way from the President of the United States to San Francisco General Hospital and UCSF. They're trying to tell us, don't say anything about Palestine. They're trying to tell us not to speak. They're trying to tell us not to be seen. They're saying to turn away from a genocide that's happening in Palestine right now. Well, I have something to say. We will not be silent. We will speak. We will not be invisible. We will be seen. If you don't have the moral courage, to say no to genocide, you are on the wrong side of history, you're on the wrong side of justice, and when you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, you can see that you've committed the most abject moral crime that's happening right now. It's not a big ask to say no to genocide. It's not a big ask to say don't bomb hospitals, don't bomb clinics, don't kill healthcare workers. Just remember, when one healthcare worker dies, a piece of us dies. Oh, wow. Yeah. The sanctity of work that we do with our patients is sacred. That sanctity is being destroyed and crushed by the Israeli military with the full support of this government. We have to take a stand. We won't be silent. We will be seen. Free Palestine.
That's right. Free Palestine.
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 Thank you all. We next want to welcome. We are on Palestinian public health.
Hello, everyone. I want the Palestinians in Gaza to know that the healthcare workers in the Bay Area are with them, so let's make some noise! As mentioned, my name is Hiba, and I'm the founder and CEO of Palestinian Public Health. I'm incredibly grateful and happy to be here to amplify the Palestinian cause and to share community with you all. I'm here as a public health representative urging you to stand with Palestinians, their right to health, their demands for justice and equity, and an end to the occupation and siege on Gaza. I am the daughter of Palestinian immigrants and my Palestinian mother's greatest admirer. She came from an occupied land and is now a doctor of pharmacy serving the health field in this country that failed to protect the health of her people. She taught me to always stand up for what's right, especially in the most difficult of times. And I say this because a lot of Palestinians are being threatened with doxing, and I want to make it very clear that we will not be silenced. I don't think there can be any greater punishment than watching the genocide of your people being broadcasted. What is happening in Gaza is not just an attack on Palestinians, but an attack on public health and the health field as a whole. I want you to leave here today understanding why you have a global responsibility as a healthcare worker and human being to actively raise awareness about what's happening in Palestine and to stand with Palestinians, not just today, but every day. I want to start by giving you some more numbers because people love numbers. However, I have noticed that Palestinian numbers never seem to be enough. They continue to increase. Over 9,000 Palestinians have been murdered, including over 3,700 children and 2,300 women. Can you imagine losing 9,000 family members when we cannot even bear to lose one? Every death is a grand loss. Over 32,000 Palestinians are injured and over 2,000 are stuck under the rubble, with these figures increasing daily. 2 weeks ago, we said 45 families have been wiped off the civil registry, and now it is 825. These aren't just numbers, these were real people that were killed with our tax dollars. The bombing of Gaza's over 2 million inhabitants and its already incredibly fragile healthcare infrastructure dates back decades prior to October 7th. Palestinians have been facing a brutal occupation for over 70 years, and the Gaza Strip has been under a life-sucking siege for 16. It is crucial to understand this because behind the numbers is a story that can be explained through the social determinants of health and the systemic inequities. In this case, that is the occupation and siege. That is the checkpoints throughout the West Bank and Gaza. The permit system, the Israeli air, land, and sea blockade on the region are just some of the apartheid policies that breed the health inequities. If it is not the bombs that kill the Palestinians, it is the other inhumane policies that slowly or directly kill them. Not only were Palestinians stripped of their land, but also their ability to independently take care of their people socially, physically, and mentally. The Palestinian struggle has been a public health and social justice struggle in every shape, way, and form. As Nelson Mandela said, we know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians. Al-Ahli Hospital, which is older than the state of Israel, was bombed and at least 500 were killed. The Jabalia refugee camp, the largest in Gaza, was bombed. And the Turkish-Palestinian Friendship Hospital, which is the only cancer center in Gaza, was struck twice by Israel. Those in Gaza... Shame! Those in Gaza are not dying of biologically life-threatening diseases, but of man-made diseases called racism, occupation, and the siege on Gaza. Yes. There are also unseen public health threats. With no access to water, even toilets are unable to flush. Decaying bodies are attracting flies and an overwhelming stench. The debris left from the bombs are adding to the breathing and health struggles of a population that lacks access to water, respirators, masks, and healthcare services. Mothers are having C-sections without anesthesia. The constant sounds of bombardment have added to the mental health struggles of an already traumatized population. Over half of Gaza's population are children, and a Palestinian child is estimated to be killed every 5 minutes. In fact, the Gaza Ministry of Health released a report of all the Palestinians that have been killed, and 6 pages are infants. In Gaza, Palestinians receive their death certificate before their birth certificate. They are born into oppression and die because of the injustice they face. Gaza's Ministry of Education announced the end of the school year because there are no more students. We are at institutions where we are fighting for them to merely acknowledge our existence. Meanwhile, in Gaza, students are being massacred. This is incredibly horrific. Gazans are always found academics to be their escape from the oppression and are some of the smartest people in the world. The very least we can do at our institutions is to amplify Palestinian voices. Today, we stand together to let our institutions know that we are committed to protecting Palestinian life. That Palestinians have contributed... that Palestinians have contributed to the academics and growth of these institutions for years. We have so much to learn from the resilience of Palestinians, and I just know that years from now, the world will look back at this very moment as a teaching lesson. So I'm proud to say that all of you here today will be on the right side of history.
That's right.
The conditions in Gaza are collective punishment and a violation of international law. It is a shame and an international failure that the response to the crisis in Gaza are meetings and press conferences instead of an immediate ceasefire and an immediate end to the occupation and blockade. Healthcare workers like you are finding out their family members are dead as they are treating patients and come to the heart-stopping realization that it's their families, friends, and co-workers. In Gaza, there is no time off work. You find out your family member got killed, and then you continue to try to prevent further casualties. As Ghassan Kanafani said back in 1970, this is not a conflict. It's a liberation movement fighting for justice. Our language matters. When we refer to what's happening in Palestine, we refer to it as apartheid. We refer to it as settler colonialism. We refer to it as genocide.
Yes.
Your silence and two-sided narratives are complicit in the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. We have to call it as it is. As a healthcare community, it is our responsibility to stand against injustice and the attacks on the public health of Palestinians. You have a unique position and power as healthcare workers, where many seek advice from you and trust your input and advocacy. Use your power for the healthcare workers who are now dead in Gaza because, like you, they all made a moral commitment to treating all the lives and caring about the health of all people regardless of their race and background, but due to their identity, they are now a casualty. We know that an organized people always win against their oppressive forces. It took 132 years for Algerians to be free of their French colonizers, and I hope the world wakes up before then, but we will be free. Make a commitment today that you will never be desensitized to Palestinian death as it is a sign of lack of humanity. We will continue to amplify Palestinian voices and remain steadfast in supporting Palestinian existence. We will remain committed to protecting Palestinian life and rights. Palestinians are a people who love life, and they have taught us what it means to remain resilient. So to conclude, Palestinians need autonomy, and they need an end to the occupation and siege on Gaza. Otherwise, Palestinians will never have the ability to live a healthy and safe life. Thank you all so much.
Up with liberation!
Down with occupation!
Down! with occupation.
Up with liberation.
Up with liberation.
Down with occupation.
Down with occupation.
All right, give it up. Make some noise. We're out here fighting for life today. Let's act like it.
Thank you all so much. And a reminder, please, if you need a mask, we do have some. If you would like to cover your face or protect yourself from COVID, please do take some if you need. Next, we want just to introduce a most incredible, fierce co-conspirator, Nida Bajwa.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna get taller.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't tall enough already. My name is Nida. I'm a third-year UCSF family and community resident doctor, and I work here at San Francisco General Hospital. I came to this work to care for people who are disproportionately impacted by systems of oppression. This idea that our lived reality impacts our health is well within our frameworks as healthcare institutions. We call it the, quote, social determinants of health. The simple concept that it's bad for you physically to experience structural violence, racism, trauma, poverty, food and housing insecurity, the list goes on. And that until we target these root causes, we aren't truly helping people. Yet, when people living under occupation by a government that our country funds and supports unconditionally experience the same violence marginalized people experience at home through the same systems, by way of the same corporations and the same police and military training, suddenly we lose our vocabulary. Let me be clear. As so many have said today already, Palestine is and has always been a health equity crisis, a public health crisis, a humanitarian crisis. And within Gaza, I promise you, is a cause that speaks directly to every care worker, that aligns firmly and unequivocally within the scope of your work. If you work with children, know that half of the population of Gaza are kids. That of the over 9,000 Palestinians killed since October 7th, nearly 4,000 of them were kids. If you work with pregnant people, know that 50,000 people are currently pregnant in Gaza, 160 of whom may give birth each day without medications or monitoring and to the violent tune of bombs. If you work in infectious disease or public health, know that 97% of Gaza's water supply was undrinkable before October 7th. Now, untreated sewage is being emptied into the sea and solid waste is being dumped into the streets, inevitably to lead to deadly outbreaks of typhoid and cholera. We know this. If you work in health equity, know that life expectancy for Palestinians is 10 years less than that of Israelis living a few miles away. Even more staggering, the infant mortality rate in Gaza is 23%. That's 11 times the infant mortality rate in Israel. 11 times. 23 of every 100 babies born in Gaza dies. If you work or have ever worked in a hospital, in an emergency room, or on an ambulance, know that on October 17th, 2023, the people of Gaza experienced the most lethal attack against a hospital in documented history. The bombing of Al-Ali Baptist Hospital hospital killed at least 500 people. This is guaranteed to be an underestimate given the footage of scattered limbs and unidentifiable body parts. Al-Shifa, Gaza's largest hospital, has 700 beds. At last count, cared for 5,000 people. 5,000 critically injured, wounded people sharing beds, lying on floors and in hallways. And another 50,000 who are sheltered at Al-Shifa, as there are no shelters in Gaza, and hospitals are safe places, right? Caring for the thousands of wounded victims of airstrikes leaves little room for anything else. And yet there are 100 people on ventilators, 100 babies in incubators, and nearly 2,000 people who come to Al-Shifa 3 times a week for dialysis, dependent for their life on one generator that at any moment can run out of fuel. If you work in a hospital in any capacity, you know the demands of this job. At baseline, best case scenario, how grueling it can be, how stretched thin we can feel. But now I want every healthcare worker in this country to imagine with me that you are working at a hospital in Gaza. You cannot leave work because the injured keep coming in droves. When they come, you must choose who to save and who to let die because you cannot save them all. And while you're at work, in your 24th, 36th, 48th hour, risking your life for the profession you've chosen, caring for the few wounded surviving members of completely annihilated families, you get the news. Your own family's been killed in an airstrike. You walk into a patient room and see a dead boy on a gurney, and it's your son. And you keep working. The Israeli government calls the hospital and orders you to evacuate, warning of an impending airstrike. And you keep working. Where would your patients go? How could you possibly transport thousands of people in critical condition? Where would you transport them to? So you keep working. These are our colleagues. We should be honoring, heeding their calls for help without question, and honoring their courage and bravery. But what are we doing instead?
Shame!
We're funding the killing of their families.
Shame!
Safeguarding human life without exception should be an obvious central tenet of any and all healthcare institutions. But to all the healthcare workers and healthcare institutions in this country who have not only not found their voice, but instead are actively suppressing the voices of students and staff speaking out for Palestine, I ask you to see this cause through the lenses that mirror your own. And find your avenue into solidarity. Whether you find it as a human being, a healthcare worker, a mental health practitioner, an advocate for children, an infectious disease specialist, a reproductive justice advocate, a supporter of health equity, or anyone who's ever worked in a hospital, in an emergency room, or on an ambulance, it makes no difference to me. But please, break down the imaginary walls in your professional consciousness and begin to see your work and your humanity in Palestinian suffering. And when you do, join all of us standing here today in truly upholding the principles of our profession. Thank you.
Thank you for that amazing speech. Is Brenda here? Next we have Brenda from SEIU. Thank you so much.
Hello everybody, my name is Brenda Barris. I'm a chapter president for SEIU 1021 out here. And I just wanted to let everybody know that our union, SEIU, is meeting Monday because we want to submit a resolution to the federal government about the stopping the killing in Gaza. And I believe that that will happen, and that's the way most of our members feel about this issue. Now, we also have members who are Israeli, who have family members in Israel, and they feel just as strongly that this needs to stop. The killing needs to stop. So I'm here in support of you. I have been championing this issue for a long time. We tried to take it to the San Francisco Labor Council to get a resolution. It didn't pass. Why it didn't pass, I don't know, but it didn't. So we have to put a lot of pressure on these labor unions that you belong to support this issue. So I hope you guys continue. I will continue, and I want to talk to the black people because I'm hearing a lot of stuff from people saying this is not our issue because they feel like it's not their issue. They don't have any skin in the game. That's a term I keep hearing used. But I want to say to all of the black people out here, this kind of destruction of communities is wrong, no matter who it is. And so when it happens to us, we want support. You see, I'm wearing a reparations shirt. It's not over in America, as far as I'm concerned. And so also, we need to support other people who are going through apartheid, just like we did in South Africa. It's not any different. So it's the same fight for all of us, and we need to all stick in it and do it together. And let's win this and stop the killing.
Thank you, Brenda. The labor struggle is so critical. I'm very proud that my union, UAW Local 2865, UCUAW, has passed a resolution calling for an end to the occupation. There's so much that we need to do to carry this struggle forward as part of international solidarity with all of our workers and all of our people. I'd also next like to give the mic to Elizabeth Milos, who is from UPTI and a former Labor Council rep.
I am obviously brought to tears, and like many of you probably have not been able to sleep during these past 3 weeks, and I also joined the issue here that it didn't start on October 7th. In fact, as a former member of the Labor Council and as a representative of UPTI, my union, University of Professional and Technical Employees, which represents 17,000 workers in the University of California system, statewide, we passed a resolution, but we tried to bring it to the Labor Council, and the AIPAC supporters on the Labor Council basically stopped it from going forward. And then we got a letter from the AFL-CIO National in September of 2021 telling us that we could not discuss this. That even goes against the long, proud history of the San Francisco Labor Council of opposing the Vietnam War when the national AFL-CIO was in favor of it. I think we need to also consider the fact that there's a lot of members of unions here who are getting these kind of instructions on not to say anything about it and things like that. It's very important that we realize the intersectionality of all this, which was mentioned. Israel, there was a deadly exchange report by the Jewish Voice of Peace called Deadly Exchange, which shows the training of Israeli government and army of the police force in the United States, which has made the increase in police violence against black and brown people, including shooting out people's eyes, increase exponentially. There's also the Al-Bayt Systems, which is an Israeli company which surveils the borders and is basically attacking people that are trying to flee poverty and trying to flee war and trying to flee the narco gangs that the U.S. allows the sending of arms to. I think we need to realize there's an incredible intersectionality, and we within our union have to realize the role that the AFL-CIO played and has been playing. Since the 1928, they allowed the formation of Histadrut, basically the segregated unions that allowed for apartheid to come forward and to be solidified. They were promoting segregation in the union in the 1920s, as well as here as well. Segregation when people were fighting in the civil rights movement. The AFL-CIO was not on our side in Palestine. And also in Chile, my mother's country. The AFL-CIO also destabilized the Salvador Allende government of Chile and supported a strike against the Allende government, which brought about and helped to bring about the bloody coup in Chile. And they're continuing to do that in 62 different countries through its so-called solidarity centers, which have nothing to do with solidarity, but everything to do to suppress workers' power.
to stop this war machine is to literally stop it. And we need to, even if that means we need to talk to our own union representatives and tell them, you need to step up and be with humanity and support Palestinians and to end the occupation. It's not just enough to cease fire. We need to end this occupation. We need to stop the siege on Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you. That's right. End the occupation now.
End the occupation now.
End the occupation now.
End the occupation now.
Hey, we're going to have Jude up to speak next.
Hi everyone, I'm a nurse here. I work on 6668. My words today are for the administration of San Francisco General Hospital. I, like many other healthcare workers at SFGH, have truly been shocked and appalled at your silence for the past almost month. We as humans and as healthcare workers have the ability to, are required to, hold the complexity of death, grief, and loss while caring for our patients. What we are witnessing, however, is not complex. This is genocide. This is the endpoint of a decades-long settler colonial project rooted in Zionism. This racist project wants nothing more than the extermination of an entire group of people based on race, and that is deeply harmful to all who live in occupied Palestine and around the world. What is complex, however, is grief and loss, and your silence is a complete dishonoring of every single death. It's profoundly impactful to every single coworker here and our greater healthcare community. Jewish safety and Palestinian freedom are not opposing causes. I repeat, Jewish safety and Palestinian freedom are not opposing causes. Zionism, just like racism here, police violence, food deserts, mass incarceration, black maternal mortality rates are all health issues. They are all things we fight for, and not fighting for them is antithetical to our care work. They are issues we fight for and against to better the health and safety of our communities and our patients. We as healthcare workers work day in and day out to care and advocate for our patients, and this is a core value and directive of our work. On Saturday, July 6, 2013, a plane crashed at SFO, sending numerous patients to our trauma center, a mass casualty incident. All of us felt the weight and urgency of that situation. All of us here and all healthcare workers who became aware of what happened throughout the country did. The nurses, doctors, and administration of a hospital in New York, 3,000 miles away, sent nourishment to our ED staff in a show of solidarity and thanks for their efforts that they know all too well. The same solidarity occurred throughout the COVID pandemic, which linked us all. When pots were banged and cheers rang out at 7 p.m. every night, they were for all of us. Here, in Palestine, in Haiti, in Sudan, in Detroit, in New York, in Cuba. The healthcare workers, first responders, and medics in Palestine are our kin. We are connected through this shared work. They deserve our solidarity, as do all oppressed and occupied people in Palestine. The core tenets of our work demand it. It is wildly hypocritical to send hospital-wide emails speaking of the impacts of war on the people of Ukraine, to stand in solidarity with them, to address the Pulse nightclub shooting, to speak to the recent events in Iran, to address our community after mass shooting that took place at the Baptist Church, to mention Roe v. Wade, among other significant, tragic, and triumphant moments that deserve our acknowledgement, that deserve resources being utilized to support our staff who are struggling, grieving, reckoning, and looking to leadership to speak to it all. But complete silence on this. The director of the UN New York office, Dr. Craig Mokerberg, recently released his 4-page resignation letter in protest of what is happening in Palestine and the UN's complicity in not doing more. I recommend you all read the entire document, but here is a quote from its breadth. The current wholesale slaughter of the Palestinian people, rooted in an ethno-nationalist settler colonial ideology, in the continuation of decades of their systemic persecution and purging, based entirely upon their status as Arabs, and coupled with explicit statements of intent by leaders in the Israeli government and military, leaves no room for doubt or debate. In Gaza, civilian homes, schools, churches, mosques, and medical institutions are wantonly attacked as thousands of civilians are massacred. In the West Bank, including occupied Jerusalem, homes are seized and reassigned based entirely on race, and violent settler pogroms are accompanied by Israeli military units. Across the land, apartheid rules. This is a textbook case of genocide. Your silence is complicit. Silence is turning away while hospital generators fail. Surgeries are carried out under iPhone lights without anesthesia, without pain medication, without clean water, without any water, without antibiotics, with vinegar to clean wounds or prep skin for complicated surgeries being carried out by doctors kneeling on the floor and who are working 24 hours on little to no food, rest, or water in an attempt to save as many lives as possible. Because that is what we do. Silence is turning away while millions of people are starved and forced to drink contaminated water that soon will cause the mass deaths of more people from waterborne infectious diseases. Silence is turning away from decades of water and food rationing by the apartheid state of Israel. Silence is sanctioning genocide and creating an unsafe work environment for our Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim co-workers. Shame on you all. Shame! Advocating for a ceasefire is advocating for life. Standing up and saying we are not standing by and staying silent while genocide occurs right before our eyes is our work. Calling for an end to decades of oppression and occupation is advocating for life, freedom, and liberation. Demanding an end to a siege that has directly caused illness, death, and suffering is our duty. You are on the wrong side of history, and we will never forget your silence.
That's right. Silence is violence. Silence is complicity.
Silence is complicity.
All right, we're going to keep it up. We have just a couple more speakers. Next, we have Lee.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lee Kimberg. I am a primary care doctor here at San Francisco General Hospital and a medical educator at UCSF. Justice is love. Solidarity is love. Please pause, look around, and feel the love in this community. I am grieving. We are grieving. Life is so precious. When anyone's life is cut short from violence and cruelty in this world, it is a wound to our shared humanity. I want to share my condolences with all of you and everyone in our community who has lost loved ones to violence. I'm a person of Jewish heritage. Both of my Jewish grandfathers fled anti-Semitic persecution in Lithuania and Poland. 3 of my ancestors were killed in the Treblinka concentration camp. I come from people who were the victims and survivors of genocide. And I am here to say that if we want to mend this world, if we truly want to live in peace, we must find ways to stand together against the ethnic cleansing and genocide of any peoples. Right now, we are witnessing genocide being committed against the Palestinian people. How do we stand together against this violence and in support of peace? First, we can have a moral compass and decry genocide and apartheid even when we are not well enough educated about the specific history or politics. When we can see that 2.2 million people are locked behind barbed wire and their food, water, and electricity is cut off, we know this is wrong. When we see ambulances, clinics, hospitals, and our Palestinian healthcare colleagues and their patients being bombed, we know this is wrong. When we see videos of children who are too young to write their names, hold up their arms to their older siblings so that they can write their names in permanent marker so that when they are bombed and they are buried under rubble, people will know their names. They existed on this planet all too briefly. We know this is wrong. Our language matters. Over and over again, we have heard dehumanizing language used as a justification for committing genocide. The Israeli defense minister called Palestinians human animals. Yet we do not have to listen to the news from Israel or our own complicit U.S. government to see the humanity of the Palestinian people erased. At UCSF, SFGH, and SFDPH, the institutional communications from our leadership have erased the lives and the deaths of the Palestinian people in Gaza. Hey! The grief and the safety of our Palestinian Muslim and Arab colleagues is ignored and erased. Hey!
hearing.
As human beings and healthcare workers, we are witnesses to so many people's grief. Grieving is a sacred process. We must be able to hold each human being's grief with tenderness and love, while also opening our eyes, our hearts, our minds widely enough to realize that state-sponsored violence endangers us all. We can do both. We must do both. Education matters. Our healthcare and academic communities, myself included, are in desperate need of education about the history of colonization in our own country and in Palestine, the history of Zionism, and how deeply embedded colonial thought and praxis are in our minds, our bodies, our policies, our programs, and our institutions. We must be able to distinguish a colonizing force from a colonized people. We must be able to distinguish between anti-Semitism, which is utterly abhorrent, and Zionism, a settler colonial process whose historic documents specifically refer to plans to expel the native population. Human rights are essential to health and well-being. Yet so many of us in healthcare, again, myself included, are not well educated about basic legal terms like genocide and ethnic cleansing. In medicine, if we cannot correctly diagnose an illness and its root cause, we have little hope of providing curative care. We need the skills to diagnose colonization, occupation, land theft, apartheid, genocide, and ethnic cleansing in Palestine and every country in the world that our own patients and workers come from. Finally, I end with some words on silence. I came to SFGH in 1991 wearing this exact t-shirt, precisely because the people in this institution were publicly speaking truth to power about the deadly effects of homophobia to try to prevent mass deaths due to AIDS. Silence equals death. In the face of genocide and ethnic cleansing, silence is complicity. Silence in the face of genocide dehumanizes and divides us. I want to publicly apologize to all of you for being silent previously about the decades-long persecution of the Palestinian people. For those of you who have been silent, which I hope our voices lift very loud to those of you who have been silent until this moment, I ask you to listen, to learn, and to speak out against genocide. I ask you to listen, learn, and speak out in support of the liberation of the Palestinian people. I beg you to begin by speaking 2 words, just 2 words. Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now! 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 Ceasefire now!
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We just have a couple announcements before our last speaker, and we want to end with a song. We're just so incredibly honored to be in collective struggle with you all. And please go to our link tree to sign our petition. And for more information, please come up to one of our organizers if you want to get involved in helping us organize. And please finally download the 5 Calls app to call your representatives and tell them we want a ceasefire now. And to close this out, thank you. To close us out with a vision for collective healing, our final speaker is fierce co-conspirator, my sister in struggle, Dr. Bernie Lim.
My name is Dr. Bernie Lim, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Freedom Community Clinic based in Oakland, California. At Freedom Clinic, we believe in whole person healing for the people, integrating Western medicine with the wisdom and healing of ancestral medicine healers. And with today being the day after Dia de los Muertos and All Souls Day, I invite you right now to call in your ancestors with me today, to be with us and with the people of Palestine in Gaza and across the globe. I invite you to place a hand over your heart, acknowledging and thanking it for keeping you alive in this moment. I invite you to call in your ancestors. And I invite us to take an inhale together, deeply through our nose, and exhaling through our mouth. I am honored to be with you today because we are gathered here as a testament to the ancestors of our own lineage and of the tens of thousands of martyrs in Gaza. Imagine that as we are standing here today, these ancestors are surrounding us, protecting us, proud of us, that we have committed our aliveness to stand up for humanity. Yesterday was the 106th year anniversary of one of the most disastrous dates in Palestinian history. On the 2nd of November in 1917, Britain signed the Balfour Declaration. A historic promise made by Britain to give over the land they did not own, laying out the foundation for the settler colonial state of Israel against the indigenous Palestinian people. This was not just a declaration, but a process that paved the way for a decades-long dispossession and military occupation of indigenous land. This destabilization escalated in the 1948 Nakba, of which we are witnessing escalate to what we see today. What I want to ask all of us in the face of historical trauma and injustice is, how are we upholding the duties of becoming future ancestors? How are we tending to our collective grief as we fight for a new world? Our Palestinian family is grieving a live genocide and having no choice but to keep fighting in the midst of trauma and grief. Our Jewish brothers and sisters are grieving as their own ancestral trauma has been exploited to justify the genocide of another people. We as Americans, many of us descendants of colonized and enslaved people in the belly of the empire, are realizing how much of our livelihood and everyday life is controlled by a capitalist, imperialist economy that murders others at the expense of our own comforts. There is so much collective grief, and it is not easy work for any of us. Right now, what I believe we are doing here at SFGH and all over the globe as we call for ceasefire and protest, we are doing deep ancestral healing work for all of us, for 7 generations backwards and 7 generations forward. We are healing our own lineage and that of this world for the freedom of Palestine and all oppressed people. We are gathered here today because we are a testament to our ancestors. We are healing generations of injustice, silencing, and terror. We are saying no more, not in my name, and demanding a new world. We cannot underestimate that every day and every moment we choose to be awake, to speak the truth, to stand up against injustice, we are building momentum. We must protest, walk, and hold our head high because we are not alone. We have our ancestors in our own direct lineage and of thousands of martyrs killed. Our ancestors are surrounding us here right now and walking behind us here and in Gaza, urging us to keep going, keep fighting, keep believing in a better world. At Freedom Community Clinic, we believe in whole person healing for the people. Today, and as I speak, at the clinic, we're holding daily healing clinics in the next month for over 100 Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim community members who are mourning, receiving services from healers of ancestral medicines, acupuncturists, massage therapists, herbalists, body workers, energy healers, spiritual counselors, and more. Our clinic began in 2019, and we set up healing clinics in the streets after George Floyd protests in 2020. We did this proudly back then, and we do it proudly now because we declare healing is justice, healing is resistance, and healing is freedom. To let our people cry, to let our people grieve, to let our people feel, to let our people rage in a society that wants us to numb and ignore. This is revolutionary. Healing is revolutionary. Healing is protest, and healing is freedom from the chains of the oppressor. And so my call to action to you today is, how will your actions help you become a better ancestor? How can we draw on the strengths of our ancestors? Who are you waging love for? How did you express your sacred rage? And how did you end generations of trauma, ignorance, and apathy, and create new patterns in your own lineage of justice, community, and healing? How are we rocking and moving and being swaggy like we know we have thousands of ancestors walking behind us every time we stand up for the truth? I invite you and your ancestors to call out and repeat after me the words of our beloved revolutionary Assata Shakur. It is a duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love each other and support each other.
We must love each other and support each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If we could have Yuji and Cole to lead us in a song before we leave and disperse for the afternoon.
Hello, I'm Dr. Yunji Tom. This is Reese. We're going to lead you in a song of solidarity. The words are, we breathe together, we march together, we grieve together. Ceasefire, free Palestine.
We breathe together.
Stop the occupation.
Stop the occupation.
So we'll sing it all together in a moment. Reese and I are going to layer harmonies on top. Feel free to sing any voice part, or feel free to sing what we just did, okay? So let's all sing together. We breathe together. We breathe together. We breathe together. Stop the occupation.